Hello everyone and welcome back to Crown My Run and most importantly to Parkrun. We've not had a Parkrun on the channel for 3 whole weeks, but we're putting that right today at Finsbury Park. In my most recent video I asked you lot which London Parkrun I should go to and this is where you selected. You evil lot with 60 meters of elevation change, which isn't ridiculous, but you guys know I am pathetic on the hills, so here we are on a glorious August bank holiday weekend. The heavens have opened, and we're going to go put down a nice, fair effort, not going for a particular time, just going to make sure that we put a good effort down.
Right, 3, 2, 1, go!
We are not being sucked into any funny business this morning. I've done my course research and I know that the first 500 meters is downhill, so I'm just going to take it easy because I do not want to die on these hills. Making sure you don't lose to the guy in the pram is always motivating though. Avoiding some slightly dodgy tarmac, me and Mr. YMCA here. And we're going along, you can see at the bottom left, near enough 330 per kilometre, but it is heavily downhill. You can see the slope angle was just -6 degrees as we come down from around 47 meters to towards 35, I think, at the bottom. This lovely guy in the blue top letting me know about the dodgy tarmac, but I just went straight through it anyway. Like to live life on the edge. And we are all having the best of times still on this downhill section. I'm in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14th position, going on at 320 per kilometre. And this is where I first realised that, oh, why are we about to approach grass here? I don't remember that in the contract I signed to do this park run. And you can see the fare on the left has meant we have to run all the way round onto the grass, and then shortly we will come back onto the tarmac. And that does seem like potentially it's going to add a little bit of distance onto the park run. We will keep an eye on that as we go past halfway in a little while. And now the 500 meter split I will put up, which was exactly 3 minute 30 pace, 1 minute 45. But it was downhill, so the gap pace was only 3 minutes 40 as I gradually start to move past these people as we start to come back uphill. And we will have our first indication whether I was actually going a little bit hard down the hill or not. But I was actually feeling strong. I moved past the girl on the left there, not enjoying the running on the grass at all, but the tarmac is very close up ahead, and now we're moving on just behind these two lads here and straight on past them, still going along in the 340s, moving on uphill now as we move onto the path, where there's a bit of a gap to the next group ahead if I do want to get on behind them. This was where it was important to go off effort, because I could certainly this early in the race push it a lot quicker than I was going, about 350 per kilometre here, but I knew I would pay for it by the end. And this hill wasn't a steep gradient up, it was just a gradual gradient up, and there's a much bigger gradient coming later on in the lap that I'm going to have to go through twice. Through that second 500 metres now, which was 11 metres up, so 1 minute 56 we managed, which is 352 per kilometre, obviously slowing uphill, but look at the grade adjusted pace, a 338, so almost exactly the same, which shows that our effort had stayed consistent, and we're just slowly closing in on the blue top, with the guy in the orange and the yellow top a bit further ahead. It stayed very similar. Things starting to level off here before we do enjoy the next 500 metres, mostly downhill. Almost with blue top now as we start coming back down the hill, and I'm pretty happy with my heart rate here, 167. It's about 6 or 7 away from my threshold after an uphill effort, so that means I'm looking in good stead to hopefully not die in the next hill when my heart rate will go higher, and I imagine will go somewhere in the mid 170s. Quite a steep gradient here, and I was slipping and sliding a little bit because the tarmac wasn't wonderful underfoot, and that had meant I wasn't right behind blue top even though I was feeling pretty strong, and that reflected in the third 500 metres split, which was 7 metres down, so it was a 148 speeding up to 336 per kilometre, but the grade adjusted speed had dropped ever so slightly to 342. My focus had to switch to just making sure I stayed on my feet, but there's still plenty of time to push later in the race. Or the park run. And here we go, turning left. Thank you, Marshall. This is the hill I've been waiting for. It's about 20 metres up in about 150 metres, And I've been keeping something back, and luckily that has helped massively as I fly past Blue Top and I see if I can maybe get behind Yellow and Orange Top at the top of the hill. It's starting to raise my heart rate up into the 170s as I suspected. It sort of feels like you're coming to an absolute stop, but I'm still moving at 4:15 per kilometre, and it's going on. It's not a long hill by any stretch of the imagination, but it's still a little toughy for someone who's used to lovely flat park runs on the Hastings seafront and Eastbourne. Already starting to level off here. I think the max slope, and it's at that now, was 10 degrees. I think that's maybe slightly off, as it definitely is levelling off a little bit now. I've definitely gained some time on the Yellow and Orange Top, but I have struggled in the past as I come out of the hill. I have a reasonable hill, overtake some people, and then 100 so metres afterwards, even 200-300, I just feel dreadful. So hopefully that's not today. Heart rate peaked 175. That should mean I'm actually all right to push on from here, as it's only just pretty much on my threshold. Got enough to say thank you to the marshal, so that definitely means that I'm not feeling too shabby. You may have noticed Yellow Top flinging his raincoat on the floor, and he is now Black Top. I didn't notice that when I was running, and at the time I thought, have we got another cheeky rascal trying to pull the wool over Parkrun's eyes? But no, it's definitely him. Let's now have a gander at the 500 metres with that big boy hill. 16 metres up. It was a 2:01, 4:02 per kilometre, but the grade adjusted pace 3:32 per kilometre, so that was my hardest effort actually during that hill, and it showed as I moved on past Blue Top, and now I'm pretty close to Yellow Top, now Black Top. The next 500 was predominantly flat, so I aimed to just keep going at this pace. Didn't want to fly past Black Top. Hopefully in the downhill section coming from 2.5 to 3 kilometres, I could maybe push on past him and think about getting close to Orange Top. I missed it on camera, but Black Top wasn't actually going at the beans I required, and Orange Top was getting further away, so I moved on past. Through halfway, the fifth 500 metres, which was mostly flat, as I said, so 3 metres down overall, a 1:51, so back to 3:42 per kilometres, but the gap speed had actually dropped to my slowest 500 metres, a 3:47 per kilometre, but we're turning left now and about to go downhill for 500 metres, so let's see if I've got a good amount left in my legs to see if I can catch up to Orange Top. And so far, I had paced it well. This felt bloody beautiful. I was just flying down in the mid 320s per kilometre, heart rate 173. At this point, approaching 3k over 5k. That is pretty low for me. I'm usually approaching 180 by now if I'm going for a really hard effort, but 320 per kilometre now. I'm not rapidly closing on Orange Top, but I don't want to do anything stupid because obviously there's still 2 hills to go, but I would definitely mount an attack before the end. Little glance to see Black Top's whereabouts, and he was dropping behind fairly quickly. All eyes ahead. Back past the funfair as we go through that 3rd kilometre split, the 6th 500 metres, 16 metres down, and it's the quickest 500 metres so far, 1:42, 3:24 per kilometre, but the grade adjusted speed was only 3:39 per kilometre, so that's around the effort I had been doing much of the park run. And there I am just checking the cameras on. The trek uphill on the grass begins now, and it's where I started to actually catch him here. The distance to him hadn't changed drastically in that 500 metres downhill, but as we started coming uphill again, on the grass at least, it felt like I was beginning to get on terms with him. But you can see, unlike the first lap, the heart rate is now in the late 170s, so the next 1.8 kilometres are going to be hard work if I want to beat him. But at least I'm almost right behind him now. As we come back onto the tarmac, I am there. And this is when I started to feel a little bit worse for wear. It's that dreaded 4th kilometre. It's uphill, and I realised I had to start pushing properly to stay next to him. There was no more holding back ever so slightly. This was what I had left in me, heart rate going into the early 180s, but there's only 1.5 kilometres to go. Through the 7th 500 metre now, 8 metres up overall is a 1:55, 3:50 per kilometre and a 3:43 grade adjusted pace, so very similar. Most of the time I'd been around 3:40 grade adjusted. Could I hold that to the end and have anything left to kick past Orange Top? because it was definitely starting to burn now. Coming downhill now, and I was maintaining the distance behind him, making sure to do my breathing exercises, 2 deep inhales through the nose before breathing out through the mouth to try and get that heart rate as low as possible before I got to the big hill at the end. Through 4 kilometers, the 500 meters. It was actually only 3 meters down overall because there was more uphill before this section started than the previous lap. So it was 3:39 per kilometer speed, grade adjusted speed, only slightly slower at 3:39. So Orange Top was making me work. And now coming down the slightly steeper bit, I was just trying not to fall over at this point on the slightly dodgy tarmac, thinking about how gruesome the hill was going to be shortly. And as we turn left towards it, he had put a couple of meters on me. What did I have left, if anything? I'm actually closing, working incredibly hard. The burn this lap was instantaneous, whereas the previous lap didn't really hurt until I got at least to the final 20 or so meters of the hill. But I'm right on his heels there. Am I thinking about going past? Like, no, just stay here and see if you can push on past Jody when we get to the top. 600 meters to go. Just stick with him for now. Heart rate is climbing into the 180s. Any attempt at controlled breathing, absolutely not happening. Just gasping for every molecule of oxygen you can possibly get in your body. Beginning to level off now. Can I stay with him and launch an assault in these final 500 meters? But as we get to the crest at the top, it feels like he's starting to push away, and I am feeling utterly horrific, as you can tell from my grunting. What I had managed to avoid in the first lap was that post-hill lactate slump. I had not avoided on this lap. You can tell the look behind. I was like, oh no, I am a little bit in trouble here, Jeff. I knew this feeling all too well. It was going to take me a few 100 meters to rid the worst of the lactate from my muscles and be able to run at a speed where I was going to be able to maybe attack Orange Top again. And look, it's 4.6 kilometers. I don't think I've got the time to be able to mount another attack. And you can just tell he's feeling a lot better than me. Hill flick is still nice and high. My great pursuit of Orange Top is probably over. I wanted to finish as strong as I could because I feel like I'd put a pretty good showing of myself out there on a fairly hilly course. I just needed that lactate to bugger off so I could start pushing properly again and get into the 3s. It was gradually starting to feel better now. Heart rate was at least not in the 180s anymore, though I was definitely begging for the finish line. And as I suspected, with 200 to go now, 300 meters after the hill, I started feeling a bit normal again. The legs were feeling all right, and I could start pushing. So I'm in the 320s per kilometer. I can see Orange Top still, but it's going to take a superhuman, Super Saiyan effort to get anywhere near him. I just want to get as quick a time as possible. Pushing as hard as I can, 326 per kilometer. And look at the top left, I'm hitting 5 kilometers now. Those 2 journeys around the fun fair had definitely added a little bit of distance onto the run. Orange Top comes across the line now, and it's just me to come in behind him. I didn't really have a sprint finish at the end. I could only pick it up a little bit. Across the line now. Got to 3:15 per kilometre. And it's over.
Yeah, that final hill just saw me off.
Fist pump from Orange Top, who saw me off thoroughly. And there's the result, P7 with an 18:56, which is slightly annoying as I felt like I was on for more like an 18:30-40 on what I could see on my watch, but we did have a slightly longer distance than planned thanks to the lovely little fair. And I saw on other people's Strava data that sort of 5.10k, 5.15k was fairly commonplace. On my watch, it was actually an 18:41. But despite the weather, I still had a brilliant time at Finsbury Parkrun, so thank you for recommending I go there, subscribers. Thank you for watching, and keep your eye out for a community post that I'm going to do in the next couple of days, highlighting all the races I'm going to be doing in the end of September and October. I've gone a little bit mad with the amount of races I've signed up for, so it's going to mean some brilliant content, but potentially some big old blow-ups. So let's look forward to that. See you soon, everyone.